And welcome back to the program, everyone. 9:49 the time on this Saturday morning. Hour number 2 of Eat, Drink, Explore Radio. This is our final segment for the morning, and we save the best for last. This is our flight hour. Our compass word is flight, and we take you to the state that is known, well, at least on their license plate, first in flight. People in Ohio might beg to differ, but at least in North Carolina, they say it's first in flight. And we welcome Gary Knowles, travel writer, to the program. Welcome to Eat, Drink, Explore Radio, Gary.
Well, it's a delight to be here with you, Randol, and I've got to say that you're right about the license plates. I've always been a little confused because the North Carolina plates, of course, say first in flight, but the slogan for the state is the Tar Heel State, and the Tar Heel designation came because during the Civil War, the soldiers from North Carolina were so steadfast in their staying in one spot that one of the generals said it looked like their heels were stuck in tar no matter what was happening on the front line. So as a result, they kind of got the designation Tar Heels. But ever since the Wright brothers, they've been kind of up in the air over there.
Right. So they're stuck to the ground, Tar Heels, but then so they're kind of known for opposite ends of things. Gary, I have had the opportunity to interview you many times, all of those on television, this time on the radio. So we know each other pretty well. I want to introduce you to our my co-host, Patty Pyburn, who's sitting to my right.
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to meet you, if on the telephone.
Yes, exactly. I love the article that you sent me that we have now posted at eatdrinkexplore.com that goes through all the different ways people can take flight in a modern-day sense in North Carolina. And I want to start with my favorite, which is the jetpack. It looks like it's something out of Lost in Space. You fly over the water. How does this work?
Yeah, well, the jetpack, I've got to say that it was my favorite. I didn't expect to find it either, Randall. It's one of those things where I kind of grew up in the space age, and I watched all of these NASA astronauts, trying the jetpacks out there in Utah and blasting around. And I thought, boy, would that be fun. One day I'm going to do that. Well, I was surprised to find that in North Carolina they actually have a jetpack adventure. It isn't exactly the same as NASA. NASA, of course, used a jet engine and would blast you into the air with it. This one actually puts a couple of propulsion units on your back. It runs a big hose up to these two nozzles that kind of fit on your back like a pair of aqua lungs almost. And then there's a huge, I want to say 250, 300 horsepower motor that pushes water up into the nozzles and blasts it through them. So you're really propelled by streams of water going up. And I talked to Luke Bear, who is one of the guys who's done this. I didn't get a chance to do it. I probably would have blasted myself into the water on it. Right. But Luke Bear, who is with Kitty Hawk Kites, where they offer this experience, says it's incredibly, totally awesome. He says it takes a little while to get used to using these mega force blasts of water that raise you up 35, 40 feet over the water.
That high? I was going to ask you how high you can actually elevate.
Yeah, he says you can fly up to 35 feet or sometimes a little more, but you got to really be careful. But it takes a little while to get used to the steering mechanism, and of course, if you lean too much one or the other, you kind of become a jet aimed toward the water. and he says that, as a matter of fact, if you're into trying this, you can actually go underwater with this as well, because the jetpack works to blast you underwater and pushes you through the water as well. So it's an incredible experience, they say, and they say you can get used to it. And I said, well, how long can you stay up on this thing then? And well, as long as that 200 horsepower engine keeps running, you can stay up there, provided you have the stamina for it. Because I have a hunch that being blasted over the water with those kind of thrusts probably is a little tiring too. But it sounds like great fun. I think it would be really fun to try that.
Now, Gary, what do you think would happen if we combine the jetpack and a zip line? Do you think we could get?
You could probably take off from Kitty Hawk and be in France in about an hour. I bet.
Certainly the first in flight.
Forget the Concorde. This is the new way to go.
Yeah, I've done zip lining before, and I see that's on your list.
Yeah, the zip lining. There's lots of zip lines all over the country. The place where I ran into it was over in Fayetteville, which is it's about 2 hours west of the Outer Banks area in North Carolina.
Beautiful
and
area.
Fayetteville is pretty well known as a huge military area where the military has some great bases there, and Fort Bragg and some of their special operations are there. But they have this thing called Zip Quest. It's a 2.5-hour treetop tour where once you go, 2.5 hours go by, you haven't touched the ground. You're zipping on, I think it's like 8 different zip lines, kind of Indiana Jones-like, through canopy bridges, and then there's even a crossing that goes across a waterfall.
Wow.
And it's really pretty spectacular. So Fayetteville is the place you go for that, and that really is a lot of fun.
North Carolina just has such beautiful coastline, and I see in your article kite boarding is very popular in some areas.
Well, kiteboarding is kind of one of those things where they've taken the best of surfboarding and put it on a kite, and you fly a kite out over the water. There's a long line that attaches to it, and you hang on for dear life, and you go surfing by the power of the wind that pulls you across the water like a great wave, like great kiting. And I said, well, as I watched the people who were doing this, it looked to me like it was a pretty strong college age and maybe a little older crowd. And so I asked one of the guys at the Kitty Hawk Flight School, where they do the kiteboarding as well, Galen Fowler, who's one of the staff people there. And I said, is this really just a college-age thing? And he said, heck no. He said, a lot of the people that try it, in fact, a lot of the people that have come in for the classes are really baby boomers and older.
So
and
I could do it.
Well, he said last week they had a guy who was 76 years old who did it, and so I said, well, now these people try it and just kind of, they try it once and then they never do it again. And he said, no, he said about 90% of the people that they put through their training classes there actually get certified. They have a certification program.
Wow.
And then they go on to buy their own gear to do it, which runs anywhere from about $1,900 to $2,600. But
so it's best to rent first. Make sure you really like the sport.
I would suggest you do that, yeah.
Well,
probably a good idea.
Sounds like lots of fun. So First in Flight, the slogan comes from Kitty Hawk.
Yeah, the slogan comes from the fact that the first human flight ever, at least according to the history as we know it, was the Wright brothers going down Kill Devil Hill and flying there. The thing that I didn't realize before I got there that really impresses me and still does to this day was I didn't realize how long they worked to really finally get a powered airplane that they could control and fly. There were plenty of gliders. People had used gliders, and they can glide from one place to another. And depending on your definition of flying, they insisted that flying would mean being able to control the takeoff and the landing and steer this thing to where it wanted to go, rather than just sort of be at the whim of the wind.
And that historic flight lasted, 40-something seconds? And then they did land, but didn't the plane fall apart afterward?
Well, they almost every time the thing landed. I mean, landed is a not a precise term here, because the crash landing was kind of the word of the day. But yeah, they flew, they say, for 12 seconds, and they went 120 feet. And so that was the first flight that humankind took, and it was Oliver that wound up in it. Wilbur tried it first, and Wilbur's flight didn't quite make it. It didn't make it as a flight, so they were taking turns to do it, and Oliver took the second one, and he's the guy who did the first flight.
Well, Gary, I got to let you go there, but you have an extensive article with so many more things we didn't get a chance to discuss here on the show. Just go to eatdrinkexplore.com, search Carolina. It'll be one of the first articles that pop up. Gary Knowles, travel writer. Say hello to your lovely wife, May, for me.
I certainly will, and hey, it's a pleasure to work with you guys on the phone. Have a great day, and I hope you get out there to North Carolina soon.
Thanks, Gary. This hour brought to you by Eberly Winery, where you'll always find complimentary wine tasting, located on Highway 46 East in Paso Robles. Just log on to eberlywinery.com. That's EBERLE. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you right back here next week.